The game is afoot. Not a word. Into your clothes and come. I'll wait for you in the sitting room. I've just received a note from Inspector Lestrade, a letter from the suburbs. He is in need of my presence. Whenever he has asked for my assistance, it has always turned out to be entirely justified. I fancy that every one of his cases has found its way into your collection.
Yes, they all seem worthy of...
However, I regret your fatal habit of looking at everything from the point of view of a story instead of a scientific exercise.
Oh, Holmes, you...
I beg your pardon, I digress. It would be much better to examine this letter than to try to convince you.
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look.
This is where I keep... This...
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look.
My archive. This is where I keep my post.
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look. The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look.
This is where... This is where I keep my post.
아, 테이블이 여기구나.
A wax seal. I can tell from Lestrade's handwriting. The Brackenstall family coat of arms.
에비 그레인지 저택. 또 이런 사건이면
So, what is it, Holmes?
흠지가 빠지지 않죠.
Promising, as always, it appears to be a case of murder.
So you believe that Sir Eustace is dead?
I should say so. Lestrade wouldn't have sent for me for less. His writing shows considerable agitation, and he is not an emotional man. These people belong to high society. The quality of the writing paper, the EB monogram, their coat of arms. The crime was committed before midnight.
Holmes, how can you possibly tell?
Well, it is all thanks to Lestrade. He wrote his letter at 3:30 in the morning. Imagine the chain of events before that. The local police had to be called in. Scotland Yard was notified. Lestrade himself had to make haste there, and finally compose the letter he sent to me. All of that makes for a fair night's work.
It makes sense. Lestrade also speaks of the woman he released.
That seems to indicate that she had been held somewhere during the crime. Much time has been wasted. Let us find a cab and go to Abbey Grange immediately. I live in hope of an interesting morning.
Let's go to Abbey Grange.
자, 이제 새로운 사건을 맡으러 갑니다.
Ah, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, here you are. I'm very glad that you have come, but perhaps I should not have troubled you after all.
And why is that?
Lady Brackenstall has come to her senses, and she has given so clear an account of the affair that there is not much left for us to do. You remember that Lewisham gang of burglars?
What, the three Randalls?
Exactly. The father and two sons. It's their work. They stole a silver service, which is of great value.
Sir Eustace Brackenstall is dead, then?
Yes. His head was knocked in with his own poker.
A violent act of aggression.
Yes, the poor lady. She has had a most dreadful experience. She was assaulted and tied to a chair. But I think that you would best see her and hear her account of the facts. She's in the morning room with her maid to raise her right.
Where is the body of the deceased?
In the dining room. We haven't touched anything.
All right, I'm going to examine it.
Very good, Watson.
Lady Brackenstall awaits you in the morning room. Lady Brackenstall awaits you in the morning room. Lady Brackenstall awaits you in the morning room.
Ladies, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sherlock Holmes.
뭐야,
I'm
얼굴 왜
assisting
저래?
Inspector Lestrade in this investigation.
Mr. Holmes, I am the wife of Sir Eustace Brackenstall. We were married only a year ago.
I am sorry for your loss. Please accept my deepest condolences.
I suppose that it is no use my attempting to conceal that our marriage has not been a happy one. I fear that all would tell you that, even if I were to attempt to deny it.
오래된 멍자국. 나머지 하나가 어딨지?
Can you describe to me the events of yesterday evening?
Is it really necessary? I have already told Inspector Lestrade all that happened.
Yes, madam, it is.
I will tell you then. Sir Eustace retired about 10:30. I sat in this room until after 11, absorbed in a book. Before I went upstairs, I entered the dining room to fetch a candle and... oh God.
Please, go on.
As I approached the French window, I found myself face to face with an elderly, broad-shouldered man who had just stepped into the room. Close behind the first man, I saw two others. One of them struck me a savage blow with his fist and felled me unconscious to the ground.
And then?
When I came to myself, I found that they had secured me tightly to a dining room chair. It was at that instant my unfortunate
맞답니다.
husband entered the room.
He fought with the intruders?
Yes, I think he had hurt them, for he was holding his stick. But they were three, and he eventually succumbed. One of them, the elder one, struck him a terrible blow with the poker. I fainted once more. When I opened my eyes, they had withdrawn. Then my brave Teresa came to my assistance.
Did these three villains steal anything?
Yes, I found that they had taken the silver from the sideboard, but you can see for yourself in the dining room.
You mentioned that your marriage was not a happy one. Was there anything specific that was troubling you?
He was not a nice man when he was drunk, and he suffered from dark moods, but nothing else.
The bruises on your hands are at least 1 week old. Your husband caused those bruises?
How do you... Yes, he did. He was very angry at the time. Out of control. Again.
눈까지 층을
Was a
댔네.
drunkard. To be
아이고.
tied to such a man for life is worse than death.
Your ladyship?
Oh, what a...
Teresa, I would like to hear your testimony.
Certainly, sir. As I sat by my bedroom window, I saw 3 men in the moonlight down by the lodge gate. But I thought nothing of it at the time. Oh, if I'd known.
And then?
I went to bed, and it was more than an hour after that I heard my mistress scream. And down I ran, to find her tied to the chair and him on the floor with his head smashed. That's all I know.
너무 간단한데? 가족범죄단?
The description of the Randall gang provided by Lady Brackenstall is identical to the one in the Times article.
이거랑 이거. 랜들 강도단. 일단 이거 선택할게요. 이거 선택하고 이거다.
These scratches are most definitely made by the picture frame. This is Sir Eustace's safe. There may be something important inside. I must ask Lady Brackenstall to open it. This photograph of Lady Brackenstall and her maid Teresa was taken at a port, but which one?
이런 거 보면 사진 뒤쪽을 봐야죠.
So the lady and her maid came from Australia a year and a half ago on this ship.
이 끝이야? 탁자는?
My mistress...
Lady Brackenstall, could you open this wall safe?
No, it is my husband's safe. I do not know the combination.
We have to open it. Your ladyship? Let us try. This safe can be cracked. I only have to pay attention. The dial will vibrate when it is set to the correct number.
이거는 1이랑 2, 2. 이럴 거면 빌보를 따로 볼 필요가 있나? 저 이렇게 틀릴 건데. 알코올 중독 증세네요.
Antique coin. Antique. It is common practice to keep one's valuables in a safe behind a painting. It is. It is. It is. Sir Eustace's doctor speaks of his violent behaviour.
Yes, Sir Eustace was an extremely violent man. A detestable human being, to be more precise. It is true that he once threw a decanter at me, and all because I dared to stand up to him in defence of my mistress.
심각하네요, 이거.
Sly devil. God forgive me that I should speak of him so now that he's dead. But a devil he was, if ever one walked the earth. We met him only 18 months ago. She'd only just arrived in London. Yes, it was her first voyage. She'd never been from home before. Wonder with his title and his money and his false London ways. If she made a mistake, she has paid for it, if ever a woman did. She doesn't have any friends here, so it was specially hard for her.
Oh, what a horrible
선원가의 맥, 이게 어디서 나왔지? 일단 지인이 없다고.
Sir Warthen Brackenstall.
저렇게 생겼구나.
What do you know about Sir Eustace, Inspector? What was his reputation?
A charming man when sober, but an absolute demon when he was drunk. In such moments he was apparently capable of anything. Why, once he splashed fuel on Lady Brackenstall's dog and set it alight. Another day he threw a decanter of wine at Miss
아니, 애완견은 무슨 잘못이길래?
The alcohol seemed to madden him.
To the point that we were forced to intervene several times to avoid a scandal. The body is still in the dining room where the murder took place. The body is still in the dining room where the murder took place.
Lord Ramsay Brackenstall. Baron Lyndon Brackenstall.
You should examine the body of Sir Eustace Brackenstall.
So, Watson, what have you learned from examining Sir Eustace's body?
Well, I can confirm that the death was instant. Sir Eustace was facing his attacker when he received the blow to his head. There are no other apparent injuries. You should...
일단 바로 시체 조사합니다.
The head was cracked with the force of the blow. That must be the murder weapon. Quite a large stick, a formidable weapon. Barefoot. He had therefore been in bed and did not have It is covered in blood. Sir Eustace might have struck his head upon it while falling from the blow. That is one possible explanation.
뭐지? 이거구나.
It appears that the bell rope was cut by someone taller than me. It appears that a fur trader's cabin.
아, 일단 단서를 더 수집합시다, 수집.
Sailor's knots. That's interesting. This rope was handled by the murderers. We need a scent hound to follow their trail. I will take it with me. This is the...
드디어 걔가 처음으로
A decanter standing next to the open... Chateau Calon-Ségur. French wine. Grand Cru. There is beeswing at the bottom, as if the wine had not been decanted before being poured. This glass has some wine traces, but no visible beeswing.
건더기가 없네.
This glass has some wine traces, but no visible beeswing. It is rather strange that only one of these glasses has dregs of beeswing inside it, while the other two are clear.
일단 토비 데려옵시다.
Come on, Toby. We need the best nose in the British Empire on this case.
I agree with you, Toby, that Watson's shoe is preferable to Mrs. Hudson's cold cuts.
범인은 3명, 범인은 2명.
search, Toby.
아니. 아니 이제 강아지까지 컨트롤한다고?
The intruders entered the shed for some reason when they were making off with the silverware.
신기하네. 여기 버렸나? 아니
The
강아지
scent leads to the well. I should check it.
나무 뒤인가? 아예 벽 담장이구나.
The criminals left the house through the French window. They walked to the shed, then across to the well, before fleeing by climbing over the wall. I wonder why they chose such a winding route.
Brave Toby. The best nose in the British Empire.
왜 돌아갔지? 모르겠네.
There's something glittering at the bottom. I need... If only I had some...
또 갈고리야?
This
음,
bags of... This old suitcase... Small garden...
아마 인식기가 아닐까 생각되는데요.
Silverware. This is hardly a coincidence. The Brackenstall coat of arms. It appears that we are...
일단 다시 돌아가 봅시다. 그 전에 먼저 사건 수첩부터. 범인 2명인가? 이렇게 되는구나. 선언으로.
A deer. This door leads to the upstairs. The hunting scene.
아니 이쪽으로.
These wine bottles. This candlestick is valuable. An empty silver. A bottle of wine. The criminals did not thoroughly ransack the house. They only took a little silverware.
왜? 어째서?
This door. Antique hunting weapons. A trapper.
땅꾼의 쉼터. 왜지?
Inspector, I have recovered the stolen silverware.
You are a wizard, Mr. Holmes. And where is it?
In the garden well.
Excuse me?
Unique, isn't it?
Rather absurd. What is the point of stealing silverware and then throwing it down into a well?
Perhaps it was used as a temporary hiding place, or simply the thieves wanted to get rid of it. It is up to us to solve this mystery. There are 3 glasses on the dining room table. I was wondering if...
Oh, I forgot. When I came to myself the first time, each of them had a glass in his hand. They might have been a father and his 2 sons. They talked together in whispers, and then they left.
We found your silverware, Lady Brackenstall. It had not been taken very far.
Is that true? I am very thankful to you, Mr. Holmes.
Your ladyship? We found your mistress's silverware.
Oh, that's good news. You really are as clever as they say.
Indeed.
Oh, what a horrible thing to...
눈썹도 메이커가지. 눈썹은
Let us see how the rope was cut. The fibers at the end of the rope are smoothly cut. Let us try to find out what tool was used to cut the rope. The fibers from this cut appear to be different. The fibers from this cut appear to be different. If I cut the rope with a knife, it matches the original.
뭔가 다른 사건보다는 편리하게 뭔가 빠르게 되는 것 같은데요, 이거. 건 해결이. 얘 어디 갔어, 경감? 여기 있네.
Holmes, don't look at me like that. I don't know what to...
Oh, what a horrible...
Please leave my Mary alone.
Holmes, don't look at me like that. I don't know what to think about all this.
아, 서재. 미니 이동했네.
This is where I... Here it is.
황송역. 마리 프레이저.
The shipping company, the Adelaide, Southampton, London line, and its address. Interesting. It must be the place where they keep the records, including the one for the crew of the Rock of Gibraltar.
I think that if you pretend you're from Scotland Yard, they'll give it to you without any problems.
But I have another solution. I'll call in the specialist.
베이커 유격대 심부름. 아, 위긴스.
Wiggins, could you come upstairs, please?
아니, 얘는 저기 토박이야?
At your service, Mr. Holmes.
I need a register, my young friend. If you could borrow it, there will be half a guinea for every one of you. I need the crew list of the Rock of Gibraltar in 1893, and their current employment.
I'm straight on it, Mr. Holmes.
Do you really think they'll find it, Holmes?
My secret police is better than the Yard in many ways.
3시간.
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. But we can't take it back. It's too risky.
Put it on the table. I'll take care of it. Good work, young Wiggins. This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. And these are the lists of the senior officers of the Adelaide, Southampton, London line ships. Let us find out who was in London upon November the 7th.
11월 7일, 런던.
This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. I do not think that this sailor has any connection to the case. This officer was on a ship that sailed... Mr. Jack Crocker was in London upon the date of the crime, and he is due to depart in 2 days.
얘다.
This officer is still at sea.
토마스 워커. 얘다.
This officer is... This officer was on a ship.
토마스 워커야, 진짜?
Mr. Jack Crocker was... This officer is...
This Crocker, do you think...
It would be interesting to meet him. Our young friend should be able to find him. Wiggins, could you find a way to bring this Captain Crocker here to us?
Here? Holmes, that could be dangerous.
No problem, Mr. Holmes.
뭐든 가능한 위긴스.
Mr. Holmes, I was informed that you were looking for me, and I'd like to know why.
Yes, it is important that we talk. You will soon understand why. You are acquainted with Lady Mary Brackenstall, are you not?
Yes, I think I do remember her, from when I was first officer, but I still don't see...
It seems your relationship went beyond that of mere passenger and first officer.
How dare you?
Indeed, how reckless a feeling is love, particularly if one is prepared to commit a murder in its
아니
name.
너무 단정 짓고 간 뒤에 말하는 거 아닌가?
You are
줄이?
aware that the murder made the headlines of the morning press. You read the newspaper report, but to your dismay, found it much fabricated. Once you learned that I wanted to see you, you came straight away. You needed to know what I had found.
You... and what do you know?
That evening, you were with Lady Brackenstall, despite the danger.
I'm not afraid, Mr. Holmes. Besides, all of this is just guesswork.
You would be right if there was no evidence.
What then?
Lady Brackenstall was tied to a chair on the night of the murder. And it was you who tied her up.
You call that evidence?
Yes, as she was tied with a sailor's knot. Your handiwork.
So, it's a sailor who's done it. That proves nothing, Mr. Holmes. I'm not the only sailor
지금은
right
혼자지.
now. Your theory is flawed anyway. On the night of the murder, I was aboard the Sharp. I was supervising the repair of a porthole.
At night.
It was an emergency. There was a leak. You can ask the ship's carpenter. He can confirm.
I'm sure that he can.
Perfect. In that case, we have nothing more to talk about. Good evening, gentlemen.
Holmes, what should we do now? Would you like to check his alibi?
No, there is no doubt that these men will testify in his favor, and there will be no way to check.
So, what then?
So, we must work with what we have. We have all the puzzle pieces.
Now I understand why you dissected...
벌써? 벌써 끝이야? 벌써 끝이네 벌써? 그러니까 만약 알리바이로 가면 어떡해. 아, 잠시만. 단서를 보면 평균적인 신장과 체격. 랜드릴 일당은 귀중품을 도난하는데, 근데 저 집은 귀중품 그대로고 은식기도 안 가져갔지. 그러면 뭐
Wiggins, could you ask Mr. Crocker to come here again, please?
Right away.
Why did you make me come here again, Mr. Holmes?
It is over. I know that it was you who killed Sir Eustace Brackenstall.
What?
I know because of the height at which the rope was cut. The knife used was a sea knife. The knots were sailor's knots, and not least the sheer force that was put behind the killing blow. And because you are the only one who knows Lady Mary
한
Brackenstall,
시간 만에 바로 저렇게
and because you love her.
저런 표정을 짓는다고?
It's true.
It
바로
is
인정하네.
time for you to tell us the whole truth.
I admit that I loved Mary madly from the first day that I met her. But I never did come to visit her, for I believed that she was in a happy household. When I talked to her maid, who told me everything, I was insane with rage. I was due to set sail for 6 months away. I wanted only to see her again. But it turned into a damnable nightmare when he barged in. He dared raise his hand to her. He was not even worthy of licking her boots. Oh, I regret nothing. I admit I killed the monster out of love for her. She will forgive me if she is able.
Lady Brackenstall already forgave you. She said nothing.
Mary.
But that makes her an accomplice as well as her maid. It places her in danger yet again.
Mr. Holmes.
You would not have managed to protect her.
Till I die, do you hear me? Here is a letter that sets everything clear, and it is the one that should be disclosed to the police. I am the only culprit. Mary had nothing to do with it. Now it is time to end this.
하실 수 있다.
Please forgive me, Captain Crocker. I wished only to test your sincerity, and your words and deeds have far exceeded my expectations. See here, Captain Crocker, we'll do this in due form of law. You are the prisoner. Watson, you are a British jury. Captain Crocker, the evidence shows that you acted without premeditation and used reasonable force to protect an innocent victim from her husband's brutality. Your devotion pushed you to attempt to kill yourself in order to protect the one you love. Now, what say you, gentlemen of the jury?
Not guilty, my lord.
Vox populi, vox Dei. You are acquitted, Captain Crocker. So long as the law does not find some other victim, you are safe from me.
Mr. Holmes.
It is a great responsibility that I take upon myself, but I will give Lestrade an excellent lead, and if he can't avail himself of it, I can do no more. Come back to your lady in a year, and may her future and yours justify us in the judgment which we have pronounced this night. Inspector, I'm afraid that the murderers have escaped us.
What? Do you mean to tell me that you failed? Never thought I'd live to see the day.
I mentioned the murderers, not the case. It is obvious that the crime was committed by 3 criminals who cannot be the Randalls.
You really think so?
You only need to find a gang of 3 thugs wandering around. I can trust you to do that.
If they exist, I'll catch them.
You'll find someone, I have no doubt of it. Goodbye, Inspector.
좋아. 저는 이렇게 결론 제시.